Good evening and welcome, Pima County. I would like to call to order the Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022 regular board meeting of the Pima Community College Governing Board at approximately 5:36 according to my computer. Mr. Sylvan, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Ripley? Ms. Ripley?
Here.
Mr. Klinko?
Present.
Ms. Garcia? Sorry, Ms. Garcia, I couldn't hear. I'm having trouble hearing you, I'm sorry.
Here?
Oh, thank you, that's much better.
Okay.
Dr. Hay?
Present.
And Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Thank you, all board members are present.
Thank you very much. We will launch right into our first item, which is new business. So the first thing that we have on the agenda is call to audience, for which we have not had any submissions. So without further ado, we'll move to the next item, and I will call on Chancellor Lambert. Would you like to introduce the next item, which is the recognition of board member and former chair Damian Klinko for his service as board chair from 2018 to 2021.
So, Madam Chair, it's my honor and pleasure to recognize former board chair Damian Klinko for this award. Damian, I just want to say thank you for all that you've done, for your outstanding achievements over the last few years in this role. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, as this is the board's recognition of Mr. Klinko.
Thank you so much, Chancellor. And I would like to ask Damian if he'd like to show us what he got in recognition for this, for his service.
So thank you, Chairwoman Ripley. I really, again, appreciate the recognition from the board. I received this really beautiful plaque and glass ornament, and I just want to say again, it's really been such a privilege over the last 4 years to serve in this role. I'm so proud of the work that we've collectively done together. Every single person who is part of this institution has worked so hard over the last half decade to really transform the institution, and it was really my pleasure to serve in this role. And I look forward to continuing my service as the vice chair and into the future, supporting the institution in different ways.
Thank you so much, Board Member Klinko. Thank you, Chancellor. The next item on our agenda is I would like to ask the board to provide any remarks if they have any. We have 5 minutes per board member. And at this point, we basically provide comments or summaries of any kind of recent college-related activities. So with that, let's start with Board Member Garcia. Do you have any comments?
No.
Next we have Board Member Meredith Hay.
I would like to echo the congratulations to Mr. Klinko and his outstanding service as board chair and his leadership of this board over the last few years, and all he's done for this college and for the community. So thank you, Damon. You're a rock star. Hang with us. And no further comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Hay. Next, Board Member Gonzalez.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to mention the welcome back as not only to the students, but to the community in reference to what Pima College has been doing with the COVID at the West Campus. I think it's great, and with the continuing efforts to really provide to the community in reference to the availability of the not only the COVID testing, but also the vaccinations out there as well too. But I just want to say is that be safe, everyone, and that includes everyone, not only our students, but also the community, because it's as we all know, it's challenging times, and we all have to do our part as well too. That's all I want to say for right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And Board Member Klinko next.
Thank you, Chairwoman Ripley. Nothing to report at this time.
Great, thank you so much. And I would just like to also thank former Chair Klinko for a wonderful pass down. There's a lot of moving parts. I had no idea how much he had been doing. It's a lot behind the scenes, and clearly not for any kind of credit or any kind of any platitudes. So thank you for everything that you've done for us, Board Member Klinko, since 2018, basically, and when you first came onto this board. There's a lot of work that we have to do. I want to thank everybody here and the community for this opportunity to serve as a chair for a short period. I have the baton now. It'll be passed again, at some point. But for now, thank you, and thank you also for your understanding as I hopefully don't stumble too much through my first meeting. So with that, I would like to go to the next agenda item, which is the Pima mission moment, which I personally love. And with that, I would hand it over to Chancellor Lambert.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. We are so pleased to be able to showcase another Pima positive set of activities and programs. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Phil Burdick, who will introduce this month's piece around campus tutoring in our learning centers. Phil? Is Phil not on? So David, do you want to step in?
Yeah, I'll start. Thank you. And Chair Ripley, members of the Board of Governors, Chancellor, and colleagues and guests. As the Chancellor said, it's my privilege really to highlight and to introduce Ed Gallagher, who oversees our learning centers. And, I just want to say before I pass it on to Ed that our tutors are really heroes here at Pima. They provide so much support to our students. And a tutor is really a special person because they're really kind of bridging that between the faculty member and the student, and they're spending time one-on-one to really get to know students and not just help them in their classes, but really help them develop as students and as professionals, and giving them life skills as well. And we have, as I said, extraordinary tutors, and they have, as so many at the college, they've really adapted to this new normal for us. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Ed Gallagher, who oversees all of our learning centers and under the leadership of Dr. Jeff Thies.
If you're speaking, we can't hear you, Mr. Gallagher.
I realized I should have unmuted first and then shared my screen. So let's try this a second time. Thank you. It is an honor today to speak to the board about my passion, which is our campus learning centers. And I'm sure that some of you may not be as familiar with the existence of campus learning centers and our tutoring program as others. So I'm here to shed a little light on what we do and the successes that we're having with our students and for the college. First, however, it's kind of important to understand what learning centers are. So who are we? We actually exist at all of our brick and mortar campuses as well as virtually. We provide tutoring services to all students. Any Pima student has unlimited tutoring availability for our tutors for free at any of our locations. And as I said, virtually. We also provide an American Sign Language lab, which is an experience that students don't get in a lot of language programs. American Sign Language is a hard language to learn and to find places where you can practice in comfort and ease. And so we provide our students taking American Sign Language with a language immersion experience through our American Sign Language labs. They're located at 3 of our campuses, East, West, and Northwest, as well as provided virtually here. And it's very successful. We also oversee 4 of the 5 computer commons across the district. We provide study space for students with individual study space as well as group study space, and workshops on study skills, time management strategies, success strategies for being able to succeed in their classes as well as in college and their lives. We have 20 staff members and over 100 tutors across our district. And our tutors are a mixture of current students, past students, and individuals who are coming back to the college after having a life and a career. So they bring experience beyond just what other students get to see in a classroom. So it's a real age range from our 18-year-old new tutors to our 75 and 80-year-old retired individuals who are coming back and giving of themselves to our students for their success. We're very proud of our tutors. They are certified under the College Reading and Learning Association's International Tutor Training Program. It is an internationally recognized tutor certification program that is extensive for each level of certification, and we offer 3 levels of certification. The tutors have to go through 10 hours of training, 25 hours of practical experience tutoring, an evaluation by a supervisor, and a self-evaluation of their own. So the tutors who progress through the CRLA certification process really earn their keep. And they're available to our students, which is amazing. Our operational hours are Monday through Saturday at most locations and virtually. So we provide lots of opportunities for students during the day as well as in the evening to come and get some help. However, it's not just the campus tutoring services. We also contract with NetTutor, which is our online tutoring provider that is available 24/7, times and hours where we cannot provide the tutoring services and the support for our students, but times when our students really need it. Because remembering back to when I was a student, I did my homework at 11 and 12 o'clock at night, especially if it was due at 12 o'clock. And so we're lucky to be partnered with NetTutor that provides those services. If you're curious, about 30% of NetTutor usage happens during our regular Learning Center working hours, but 70% of the students who utilize NetTutor are utilizing that between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., hours that we can't provide that kind of a service. So thank goodness we have that and are able to provide that for our students. It's a good partner with our campus learning centers. So who do we serve? Who are our students? About 20%, so 1 in 5 students come through our learning centers and interact with our staff and our tutors. That's a pretty good number. We would love to see it 100%, but 20% is really good. And if you think about that, 1 in 5 students is coming to us, and they reflect our student population, both in age breakdown, with the majority of our students being that 18 to 24 range, as well as in the racial and ethnic makeup of our students. It is an almost 1-to-1 correlation with the college enrollment as well. So we are a direct reflection of our student body, which is very good. So what does that mean to our students? What impact does tutoring and learning center services have on our students? Well, when I talk about course success, I'm talking about A's, B's, and C's in their classes. And if we look at it, students who interact with Learning Center, either through Computer Commons, through our tutoring, through our American Sign Language Lab, have an 85% chance of success. And that's about a 5% better chance of success than students who don't interact with learning centers. And this data is going back 5 years worth of data that we've been collecting on this. It was reflected the same during COVID as well as pre-COVID, and it's reflecting again post-COVID. If we talk about persistence, those students who register in the fall and come back in the spring, there's about a 12% better chance that you're going to come back in the spring if you've interacted with the Learning Center and our staff than if you haven't. Retention, we're talking about students who register in the fall and come back the next fall. It's about a 10% greater chance of coming back in the fall if you interact with us. And that category of new to higher ed students, those students who are just entering higher education for the first time, you'll see that it's about 11, almost a 12% increase in their success rates. This is reflected across age groups, across ethnic backgrounds, across economic strata, from campus to campus to campus. Students who interact with learning centers succeed at a higher rate, no matter what class they're taking, no matter who they are and where they come from. And we're very proud about that. And you'll notice it's also the same no matter what modality they're taking classes, whether they're taking an online class, a hybrid class, a virtual class, or an in-person class. It's still about a 5% increase. So we're very proud of the fact that our students who come to us are succeeding in their courses. And it really shows the impact that learning centers have both on our students and their success, but also on the college and our mission of helping students to succeed. After COVID, during COVID, we all went and were able to pivot immediately into virtual services. Coming back from COVID, we realized that some of the services that we brought online were so helpful and successful to students, and we were getting such wonderful feedback from the students on those services that we had to find a way to continue them. We were able to, through the use of Carissa and HERF funds, continue our virtual tutoring through our virtual learning center. And with the use of those funds, we've been able to help students virtually using Google Meet and Zoom in order to tutor them one-on-one in appointments. We've continued to embed tutors in classes. That's a case where we've identified a tutor and paired them with a class and with a faculty member, and the tutor is actually part of the class. They then become familiar with the students, can interact with the students in class and active learning activities. They also can remind students of the Learning Center and the availability of tutoring, and they're available one-on-one to those students after class. That's been a very successful program, and we are continuing to find ways to expand that as a way to further engage students. We've continued our asynchronous paper drop-offs, where students can drop off a paper. One of our Learning Center writing tutors will review the paper and send back comments and suggestions to the student, usually within an hour or two, at the most within 24 hours. We've been able to hold virtual study halls so that students don't have to worry about coming to campus and being around a large group of people, but it still provides students a safe space to come and study, and then to have access to tutors at a moment's notice to have questions asked or to just get some reassurance that what they're doing is correct. We hold writing workshops that are specifically designed and developed with writing faculty members to help the students in things like creating a thesis or writing a rhetorical analysis paper, one of the hardest ones students have to do. We continue to hold our virtual American Sign Language labs. Previous to pandemic, we were only able to do the in-person ASL labs, but now with the success of our virtualization, we're able to continue that and now serve more students and serve them in ways that they are much more comfortable coming and utilizing that service. We've created widgets within D2L to advertise and to alert people to the fact that we exist, because every semester, the saddest comment we ever hear at the end during finals week is students walking in and saying, "Oh, I wish I had known that there was free tutoring at campus." So we're doing everything we can, including building a social media presence to get the word out that learning centers are here, tutoring is free, and there's no risk to come and give us a try. We also remain high touch. We realized during the pandemic that one thing students missed the most was high touch personal contact, which is why we went to video tutoring and why we kept our staff really engaged with our students. And we wanted to continue that even though we're back at campus and running our virtual services. We've done everything we can to keep our services high touch and extend our hours of operation to help our students, realizing that not every student is available from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. So we keep our hours open. We also have Saturday hours, and we continue to push the connection we have with Net Tutor Services so that we can try and bring in more students, because the more students we can see and we can work with, that we can make those connections with, the more chance they have to succeed, to persist and be retained in college, and to succeed in their classes so that they can attain those degrees we so want for them. Now, I could talk as long as you would listen about Learning Center, tutoring, and our services, but sometimes it's better to hear from the people who actually benefit from it. So I'm blessed to have with us tonight one of our students who's very well known in our learning centers, and that's Morgan. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Morgan Beatty to pop in here and explain to you the learning center experience from a student's perspective. So Morgan, why don't I turn it over to you?
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Can everybody hear me? We're sitting here. I'm not used to Zoom. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, my name is Morgan Beatty. I'm one of the older students here at Pima College. I'm currently enrolled in the transfer study program for the pre-engineering classes. I'm going to transfer to the U of A, hopefully for the optical sciences track. I've literally I've had enough time to live my life, and I'm coming back to college to, further my education. And I've had the chance to actually experience the learning centers of a couple of different campuses. And I've also had a class and I currently have a class with an embedded tutor. It's amazing the difference between I've always had a study group. I'm good for, trying to get everybody together to make sure we work on our weaknesses, our strengths. It's great to do that as a group. But when it comes to the time when nobody has the chance to join the group, coming to the learning centers has been a remarkable experience for me. For instance, my last semester in Calc 2, you couldn't have said it before when I started the semester, but I actually graduated. I got it with an A. I got an A in my Calc 2 class, and I directly relate that to my time that I spent with the tutors. One of the tutors, especially, his name's Charles Scheid. He has a degree in astrophysics and is, along with all the other tutors I've had time with, he's just kind. He takes the time to realize where my weaknesses are, help me with my strengths, at the same time helping other students. The learning centers are busy, and I really appreciate the time that those people put into us. And emotionally, David Dorr actually covered everything I wanted to say. Statistically, Ed Gallagher covered everything else I wanted to mention. And I really can't express how many times I tell people, if they're having a little trouble, a little struggle, just pop on in. It's incredibly convenient. And like Mr. Gallagher said, I could speak forever about this, but I'm going to hold the rest of my piece. I believe I said everything I needed to say.
Thank you so much for a really great mission moment. Any other comments, Chancellor or Dr. DeRay?
Again, I just want to commend all of our tutors and our faculty and how they really work so seamlessly together. So thank you.
Thanks so much. And as a former adjunct, I know that my students loved using the tutoring capabilities that we had, and it really makes a difference. Thank you so much for all you do. And also, it's just another reminder that it's Mr. Beatty, it's never too late to go back to school, and it's never too late to start. So thank you so much for your amazing testimony. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to actually go back to item number 1.3, public comment call to audience. We actually did have one member who would like to make some remarks. So I'd like to take 5 minutes right now. But I'd like to, basically set this up with what this is all about. The Pima Community College Governing Board welcomes public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the college. Generally, the total time for public comment will be limited to 45 minutes, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. I think I said 5, but these time limits may be modified by the board chair or board. Individuals sharing comments are expected to communicate with decorum and respect. Individuals who engage in disorderly conduct or who use derisive or insulting language may have their time reduced or concluded by the board chair. At the conclusion of public comment, individual board members may respond to criticism made by those who address the board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on future agenda. But members of the board, however, may not discuss or take legal legal action on matters raised during public comment unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. Finally, be advised that internal college processes are available to students and employees for communication. With that, I will welcome Professor Kayla Hayes.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Chair Ripley, Chancellor, board members, colleagues, and guests. My name is Kayla Hayes, math faculty, online department head, and PCCEA president. Tonight, I come in my role as PCCEA president. In the past month, I'm pleased to report that we have made a good start in discussing some of the concerns brought forward by faculty in the survey PCCEA sent out at the end of last semester. We've met with Provost Dolores Rancerda and Executive Director Kate Schmidt, along with the AARC faculty, and I would like to thank the Provost for giving us that space to share concerns, as well as problem-solve ways to address some challenges faculty are facing. We've also met with HR a few times. I would like to thank Assistant Vice Chancellor Carlene Thompson for bringing employee voices into crucial conversations, such as the future of remote work and some others. And also, we appreciated her attendance at the last AARC meeting. I look forward to more regular conversations with both the Provost and HR. PCCA brought forward some concerns to administration in December about employee morale and working conditions. The College Employee Satisfaction Survey, administered in 2019, indicated lower faculty satisfaction in several key areas compared to 2017, as did PCCEA's own survey. This week, a group was formed through AARC to give employees the chance to create some additional questions to be asked on this spring's upcoming climate survey. Our hope, PCCEA's hope, is that the responses to these employee-generated questions will give a good picture of employee morale and help identify areas that may need to be addressed by the college. I'd like to thank the board and administration for involving employees in the survey creation. Last month, I mentioned that PCCA would like to provide some comments regarding the budget to the board. We have created a video to follow up on the November 29th budget study session, which we have emailed to the board. I hope that our questions and observations can be helpful to the conversation you'll be having in the next few months. The classification and compensation study is hitting a crucial point in this process. PCCEA's goals are for the salary structure to have a clear and objective criteria for both placement and movement on the salary schedule without individual negotiation, as this can lead to highly inequitable outcomes for many groups of people. PCCEA appreciates the survey that was sent out to faculty last semester to gather some feedback and help guide the steering committee in discussions. It was a good start, and we hope to see more of this type of feedback collected as the decision-making process continues. We will continue providing the board with faculty perspective on the progress of both the classification and compensation study, as well as the other initiatives mentioned tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your comments. And again, please make sure, we really appreciate the public comments piece of this. And so be sure to submit your requests within the, to give us enough time to prepare. So thank you so much. I'm glad we could listen to your comments. And I also am really happy that the lines of communications are open and everyone feels free to make these comments or, you know, give the chancellor or go through your chain of command and make your requests and your comments and your concerns clear. Thanks so much. Next, I would like to get back to, oh, there is a, sorry, I'm missing the hands here. We do have a question by who?
Me.
Oh, Maria, sorry.
Okay.
The screen is so full. Thank you
I'm
so
sorry.
much. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so my question is, are we going to get a copy of the results of the survey? Is the board going to get them?
Yes, we will. Do you want to comment on that, Chancellor? When I don't really know the timeline of that, but we definitely will be getting those results.
Right. Once the survey is completed and everything is tallied and we've gone through all the pieces, we typically post it. I don't know what happened last year. I think the last time, and you know, that didn't happen the way it should have. And then we went into COVID and, you know, things got kind of waylaid. But we typically make them available. Yes.
Okay. Do you know when that's going to be, an approximate time?
Probably as we go into the spring, March, April timeframe.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Next, no questions. I'm looking for little hands. All right, next we have reports, our administrative reports. We have a total of 20 minutes for this. Our first item will we will begin with our provost and executive vice chancellor of academic affairs, Dr. Dolores Duran Serrata.
Good evening, Chairperson Ripley, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, and colleagues and guests. I am pleased to be here tonight to share some information about our fall 2021 outcomes and also a brief spring enrollment update. I've also invited some of my team members here to join us in case there are some specific detailed questions that they may help answer. So I'd like to remind us that student course success leads to our institutional goal, and as we know, that's our Achieve 60 Pima County, and also our 2 institutional targets as outlined in the strategic plan. Overall, we are seeing that despite the uncertainty caused by the pandemic, our success rates have really remained steady, which are very good news. And the narrative that student success has suffered due to the pandemic and the digital divide are really not necessarily supported by the data. So we have been able to maintain our success largely to the faculty, part-time faculty, full-time faculty, our staff instructors. They're the ones in the classroom with the students, whether it be in person or in a different modality. They are establishing relationships and connections with their students, and they're keeping them engaged and learning about different innovative techniques in pedagogy. In addition, our academic support and our student services support staff have helped tremendously our students to make sure that they stay on their path to completion. It's been a collaborative team effort. And as we saw tonight with Ed Gallagher and student Morgan about their work in the tutoring services and learning centers, that is such a pivotal accomplishment for the entire college and the community. So can you see my first slide on student success? Great, thank you. So a critical way that the college considers outcomes is successful course completions. When examining course success rates, we disaggregate the diverse populations as well as by subject code and also by divisions. Analyzing trend data for 3 or 5 years is particularly important and helpful in targeting our interventions to help our students and meet the needs of our students, especially those who are traditionally underserved. So as we know, a nationally recognized definition of course success are courses that are completed with an A, B, or C. Academic Affairs also reviews and studies DFW data. And DFW is the converse of student success and refers to courses that are completed with a grade of a D or an F or a W, which is withdrawal. The good news is that despite the pandemic, overall, our fall 2021 student outcomes have held steady, as you can see in this graph. Now, if we look at the rate by modality in this next slide, you can see that over the past 3 years, including those years impacted by the pandemic, our online course success has increased. The non-online course success has remained stable at 74–75%. Improving student success in online courses has been a great effort from Pima Online, their staff and their faculty. And they have implemented specific interventions to improve outcomes. For example, online success coaches. They also redesigned their orientation to online learning and a YouTube online student success channel. Now, please remember that all of our division deans do review the data, disaggregated data by discipline and even by course level as well. And they share that with their divisions and respective faculty. The next slide indicates fall success rates by race and ethnicity. So despite national trends of a widening achievement gap due to the pandemic, at Pima, student success has remained stable since 2017, as you can see. Hispanic, Latino, white, Black, or African American, and American Indian or Alaskan Native success rates have remained within 2% of their 2017 values. We are putting a new focus on disaggregated data with all of our employees. We're developing improvement plans to close the achievement gap. For example, our work with the B of A, we're looking at part-time faculty and the policies that we have at the college that are really geared to full-time faculty. So we want to make sure it's equitable. We're also reviewing our curriculum and how we can implement our 21st century skills, looking at DEI, embedding it all of curriculum, climate action, for example. And also the Teaching and Learning Center has implemented strategies like the Fair Assessment Practices workshops that's been led by faculty member Brooke Anderson. We also have certificates on anti-racist pedagogy. So I'd like to thank Kate and the team in the Teaching Learning Center for working on those pieces. Next, we'll look at success rate by gender. The success rates by gender also have remained stable. In each category, male, female, and no value entered. No value entered, by the way, means that no gender was selected by the student in the application. The success percentage has remained within 2% of the 2019 values. Now, an achievement gap does exist between males and females, but although we have more female students enrolling, males are continuing to maintain competitive course success rates. And now for a quick update on spring enrollment, as you can see here, and this is from the 23rd of January. So as we are acutely aware, and we all know this nationwide, there have been declines in enrollment and here at Pima as well. But this semester to date, it's yielding a significant slowing of that decline, and we're happy to report that. So as of this report, year over year indicated an enrollment decline of only 0.84% from spring 2021. Factors for this likely include the slowing and the changing of the pandemic efforts, and the return of nearly 35% of our offerings to the in-person modality that our students indicated that they wanted to be back. So that completes this portion, but I wanted to share some other efforts that Academic Affairs is doing to close the achievement gap. I mentioned what the Teaching and Learning Center is doing. We are following the recommendations of the Educational Master Plan, the mission, as I had said before, the institutional goal of Achieve 60. We're revamping the curriculum, making sure that it aligns with the centers of excellence, increasing retention efforts and student engagement, as well as continuing to work closely with our faculty and our deans to improve our equity-minded and inclusive teaching practices through their work with the Teaching and Learning Center. So some of the efforts in equity practices, as I had mentioned, the fair assessment practices, the certificate in anti-racist pedagogy, and also connecting the new diversity, equity, inclusion plan to all of student success. We're also measuring and increasing digital literacy with our students, addressing equity gaps in access to technology as well, and of course, program course sequencing. So these are just some of the things that we're doing to help our students so they can complete their studies and their goals. So at this time, I think I've taken up all of the time that was allotted to me, so I'd be happy to take any questions.
Yes, we have a question from Board Member Garcia.
Yes, Board Member Garcia.
I think you're muted. You're muted.
Okay. Provost, by any chance, can you try, the percentages when you show the success and completions and all that, can you add the number of people enrolled in that number so that we can see I can see a better view of it instead of taking the whole, the 15,000 people that are there? I think it'd be more beneficial, more informative to have it by how many students are actually enrolled.
Absolutely, we can do that. We can supply that information for you. So how many students are enrolled by modality?
By modality, and then like your completion, your successes, you know.
Okay. Absolutely, we'll be happy to do that.
All right,
I
thank you.
also have, you're welcome, Board Member Garcia. I also have, if you're interested in the breakdown of the spring semester by modality and percentages, I can share that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So for example, for virtual classes this semester, it's 10.9%. Online offerings, we have 33%. For self-paced independent, 1.4%. Hybrid is 16.4%. In-person classes, 34.5%. And then for self-paced in-person on campus, 3.9%. So these are percentages that we can give you the number of students too.
You know, the reason that I bring that up is because, you know, we all know that, yes, there's declining enrollment, but also the space utilization. How much are we really looking at? How much is it really costing us to educate? I'm all for education. I mean, I wouldn't be on the board otherwise.
Right.
But I also think that we need to take a real look at what's, you know, as to how we're utilizing the space that we have.
No, that's a very good question. And I think the college is looking at the space, and we're going to be doing more of an analysis of how the space can be used. And now students, they're liking the different modalities, not just in person and online, but all these different variations depending on their work schedules, family schedules. So we're trying to be more flexible and adaptable to them. And so that includes relooking at our space. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you so much. Yes, we have one question from Mr. Klinko.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Ripley. Chairwoman Ripley, Provost Duran-Certa, could you just give us a little, I mean, first of all, congratulations on especially the outcomes related to online learning. You know, I think it's really great to see that we're really moving the needle in that area. And I was wondering if you could provide us a little more, whether it's anecdotal or data-driven information on really what are the tools that we really see making the highest impact in those outcomes. And is that something that is scalable? Is that something that we can you know, invest in to enhance even greater success in this area?
Yeah, so there's several strategies that we're using, and the Faculty Senate is also looking at ways of retention for students. So they're taking it upon themselves in Faculty Senate discussions about how they can help retain students in the classroom. And a lot of it has to do with the pedagogical approaches, the growth mindset of interacting closely with the faculty and the students, the relationships that they engage in with making sure that they complete their assignments. So we have features like early alert, where faculty understand when a student is not doing well towards the beginning, having multiple assessments and not just having a midterm and a final, because by then that's too late. So a lot of it has to do with their in-class relationship and teaching methodologies. I think the Teaching and Learning Center has been huge because as a support, all of our units, but particularly the Teaching and Learning Center, and that just opened not too far before the pandemic, and it became a hub for all faculty, part-time, full-time staff instructors. And so they receive support from each other and sharing ideas and techniques. But we are making sure that data is in the hands of all of the deans and the faculty to having discussions. Okay, what are the strategies that we need to do to maintain our students engaged and making sure that they complete? And we have students who have expressed gratitude, like we heard from Morgan, knowing that there are these services. So making students more aware of the services that we provide for academic supports. I visited the downtown campus last week, and just to check in on everybody, I went to the Adult Basic Learning Center. I went to all of the areas and talked to some people in the library. And they were saying, I was talking to some of the faculty there, and they were saying that their virtual services has increased tremendously. versus the face-to-face interaction in the libraries, because students perhaps are not as timid to ask for resources or help virtually. So we're seeing all of these services that because of the pandemic, we had to pivot, but have resulted in success. And we're going to keep all these virtual services, as Ed expressed about tutoring as well. So there are lots of parts, and we have our partnerships with the universities, U of A, ASU, NAU, that are becoming stronger too. We had a visit from NAU, their provost and several of their deans came and met with our deans and creating partnerships. So we have seamless transfer opportunities for our students and making that more robust. So it's an exciting time. I always see crisis, like the pandemic is a crisis, as an opportunity. So lots of good work and discussions, and we'll be happy to provide additional information at a study session or something like that, or more data. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does that answer your question, Board Member Klink? Thank you so much. Any other questions from the board? Okay, and I think that the comment, I mean, across the nation, enrollment is an issue in community colleges as well as all higher educational institutions. So I think the key words here are resiliency and adaptability and nimbleness. And I think the nimbleness, especially from all of our employees, faculty, staff, students, administrators, in going back and forth from hybrid to online to in person, is really going to be the key. So all of the data that we're collecting is enormous, and it's valuable, but it's only as good as the people that are analyzing it. So thank you so much for your team, the Teaching and Learning Center, the people that are involved in student success. That's going to be key. It's a big team effort. I consider all of us ambassadors when it comes to enrollment. So we all have a piece in this. Thank you so much. Moving on. Thank you. We have another speaker, a couple speakers here. You have 5 minutes. It's the AARC update with Campus Vice President Aubrey Conover and Kate Schmidt, Executive Director for Faculty Affairs and Development. And I guess one member from each employee group. We have 5 minutes for this.
Good evening, Board Chair Ripley, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues and guests. Thank you so much for this opportunity for us to do a brief update on the work of AARC. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Just as a quick reminder, AARC is the All Employee Representative Council. We're responsible for providing input for the development and revision of personnel and administrative procedures and policies directly and substantially related to wages, salaries, and working conditions. So basically, pretty much everything comes through AARC, and it's an opportunity for employees and administration to talk together, to gather input, to work with the administrative leads of the different areas, and see what we can do to answer the challenges that face the college. But I know that the board is really more interested in hearing from our employee representatives rather than myself. So I'm going to turn it over to Kayla Hayes.
Actually, I believe Sarah is going to present first, but thank you.
That's right. Thank you, Kayla. Hello, board members, Chairman Klinko, Provost Duran-Cerda, and Chancellor Lambert, and colleagues and guests. I'm excited to talk about the areas going well, areas working well. I am one of the adjunct faculty representatives on AARC. So we're excited to report that we have great representation from all employee groups, that there's a lot of equity and understanding between the various employee group representatives, and that we're gathering input from all parties impacted by AARC policies. We also have a new AARC information webpage, which is linked to in this presentation. So feel free to check that out because we are wanting to better inform employees about AARC. And we're also appreciate and excited about the meaningful opportunities we've had to engage with budget and finance this past year. So we just want to highlight those things. I should say this link at the bottom of the page is a link to 23 policies that we've been working on this past year. So I won't go over all of those because we have 5 minutes, but feel free to check those out. And it also includes whether or not we reached consensus or not on a policy and kind of what group initiated the policy. So there's some valuable information there. We've included some links just to some recent impactful policies, and you may notice that a lot of these relate to adjunct faculty. So we've really been targeting that particular employee group in recognition of kind of that employee group having been neglected for some time. And, given the fact that adjunct faculty teach almost half the courses, we feel that's important to be writing more policies relevant to them. And next slide. Areas for continued improvement. I'm just going to talk about the first bullet point here, and then I'll pass this on to my colleague, Kayla. So not all employees are aware of AARC, AARC being relatively new, and they don't really understand how to meaningfully participate in AARC. So we've been brainstorming ways to communicate better with the college community. So one way was the AARC website, possibly focus groups with constituents, and we're thinking of other ways to reach out, sort of just beyond email. So yeah, I think I will leave it there. And Kayla.
Awesome, thank you so much. One of the other areas that needs a little bit of improvement is that not all of the policies that have been posted are actually coming through the AARC for the regular process to start with. So one example would be any of the COVID-19 related policies. A lot of them have been posted as interim policies. So they were posted because they needed to be posted quickly. And I'll tell you a little bit about our thoughts on that on the next page. And remote work, I think we were able to maybe move that one off a little bit because that is now coming through AARC as of this week. There's been some delays in administrative approval for AARC policies. If you go back to the link that Sarah mentioned with the 23 policies, I believe about 21 of them are still waiting to be posted. So we are working with trying to figure out that process and make sure that we can get the policies posted as they need to be posted. And I believe the reason for the delay is on that sheet as well. And then another thing is because this is a new group, new-ish group, we're still struggling to make sure that all college areas that have policies are aware that AARC is supposed to be part of the development of the process of the policies to make sure that we can avoid conflicts within policies between departments and across the college. And so that is something we are going to be working on communicating out a little bit more. So we can go to the next page. Some planned initiatives are participating in development of policies regarding the interim personnel policies. So how do we deal with those interim policies? How can we post them and still have them follow the AARC process? Do they get posted first and then come to us for review? We're working on a policy to work through that. We'd like to provide a biannual report to inform the board about policy work, including areas of consensus, but also areas of disagreement. The COVID-19 return to work policy was one that took a while to reach some sort of agreement on, and looking beyond how we're going to do not return to work, but work from home type policies, remote work. We're trying to make sure we reach a consensus on that. But there was, not always agreement reached. We would like to prepare to develop policy that will incorporate the class and comp study, because that is going to definitely impact policy and the salary scales and how they're implemented and how people move. So we're going to need time to actually change those policies before people can get paid that way. And we'd like to continue to advocate for annual salary increases with finance. It was wonderful to have Dr. B come to AARC to have that discussion. I feel like it was a great start. I do think we need to have some more conversations and continue them on a regular basis And I don't mean every month, I just mean regularly scheduled. And then lastly, continue to communicate with administration and college community about the role of AARC and how we are the policy development and the voice for employees in policy development. So with that, I believe we're going to just move on to question and answer and see what you have, what you would like to know from us. And then I think myself, Sarah, and I think Jason is on the call in addition to Aubrey and Kate.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from any of our board members? Looking. No questions so far. Thank you so much for those comments. I think, again, this is the key here is communication. So the more you can articulate your issues, your concerns, both the successes and the challenges, the more we can move forward as a one team, one fight, right? So with that, if there are no other questions, thank you again. I would like to go on to the All College Council update, headed by Committee Chair Randolph Wright, the PCC faculty member. Randolph, would you like to begin?
Absolutely, thank you. So my name is Wright Randolph. A lot of people know me as Brandy. One more time, Cal.
Sorry about that. I had your name switched. It said
No,
Randolph.
it's okay.
Randolph.
Yeah, and most people know me as Brandy, so that's certainly not the first time. It won't be the last.
Thanks, Brandy.
Don't be nervous. I have a lot of papers in front of me, but I just wanted to make sure I got all the points covered. I'm the department head for EMT, faculty senate officer, as well as the ACC rep. If you're not sure what All College Council is, the All College Council is charged with making recommendations to the chancellor on college-wide issues. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a college-wide issue that we've been dealing with, and this started a little bit before the January 14th meeting. I personally want to thank Dr. Doré, Nina Corson, Philip Burdick for some of the guidance and insight they have provided us with this gender neutral or all gender restrooms that the college is looking to do. I try not to point out specific people because there's so many that I'm neglecting to mention that have provided such positive insight to this. So, but those three are certainly at the top of the list. And again, so thank you all of that have been a part of this. The first thing that we addressed was the signage for the restrooms. And this may seem like an easy task. Here's a sign, pick this or pick that. But you have to recognize we have student input from the panel. There's part-time faculty that we have, and everyone brings a different perspective to this puzzle. And so it was just a collaborative approach to decide on, hey, these signs are the best. Potentially, Philip can email those to the board so you can see exactly what we're speaking about. There's options with the male, the female, or the all gender, the changing tables that are available in there, as well as a handicap accessible. So it was actually a process, and I think it was a lively discussion that we were able to have in the meeting, but it was certainly something that I learned a lot from. And I think what we all have to recognize is I may be an expert in emergency medicine, but I don't know the best sign to pick for this. And so it's that group's insight, it's that collaborative approach that everyone has made, which is proven to be so beneficial, right? Because this is about the college and what we need to do what's best for everyone that's there. All right, only half a page of notes left, I promise. I'm gonna stay under the 2 minutes I promised. There is a longer term plan that is underway to change the larger restrooms to the all gender restrooms so that they're more accessible, that those that do prefer those. That was something from facilities and Mike that we're able to get some information on today. And so we will be, we're currently not, but we will put together a task force on that. And again, that collaborative approach of where these should be located, you know, financially, how this is going to affect the college, those are different discussions. That's not something that the ACC will really be a part of. We've also discussed with our students different topics such as wait list and how was their ease of process for registering for classes, because I know as someone who's been at the college for 26 years, I don't have to register for a class. So having their perspective and voice on some of the roadblocks or issues that they potentially run into is just really important. And it's nice to give them an opportunity to tell that not only to myself, but I know Denise Riley is on here and she works a lot with students as well and getting them in the first year experience, what we can actually do to make this process easier so we can continue to provide those students the opportunity to be successful. So any questions you have, Madam Chairman, for me or anyone else that's on the panel?
Any questions from any of our board members? I see none. These are important topics. Thank you so much for taking this on. You as well as how many people are in the All College Council?
Well, now I got to go back and read my list.
Well, then.
So, now I got it right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. And Hilda Ladner, I should have mentioned her as well, because again, she brings a great insight as a DEI officer. So there's 12 of us.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, communication is key here. So just I'm so happy to see people are coming forward with issues, with challenges, with requests. It's, we'll do everything we can to make sure we address all of those. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. We will go on now to item 5.2, reports by representatives to the board. And each person will have 5 minutes. And why don't we start with our student report from Colin Bryant. Colin, are you here?
Yes, I'm present.
Great. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Chairperson Ripley, Chancellor Lambert, governing board members, faculty, fellow students, and guests. I have an update on the status of our annual Senate project. I mentioned last meeting that we've decided to paint some murals at a few campuses to bring some color and life. Now we are in the process of securing a couple walls to paint. I think we'll do 3, and we are waiting to hear back from facilities. We're also figuring out logistics like the types of paint to use, when to start painting, and possibly securing help from the arts department. We're going to incorporate themes that unify people and connect them to the vibrant Tucson culture. Any input on what you would like to see would be greatly appreciated. Moving on, with student Senate elections now in the foreseeable future, Senate positions are going to be advertised to students over the next few months. Students can expect testimonials, interviews, and Q&A sessions where they can learn about Student Senate, what we do and what we have to offer. And I want to give a quick shout out and congratulations to 3 of our student senators who have been nominated to the Phi Theta Kappa All Arizona team. This nomination provides a full tuition waiver to any of the 3 state colleges, NAU, ASU, or U of A. So congratulations to Jakelyn Wirt, who's going to the University of Arizona Sociology program. And congratulations to Andrea Salazar Calderon, who's going to Arizona State to study business administration and sustainability. And last but not least, congratulations to Max Luvanos, who's going to the University of Arizona's Neuroscience and Cognitive Sciences program. These 3 students are not only a testament to our current Senate, but also a testament to the types of students Pima serves and produces. So congratulations. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you all for your time and have a great evening.
Thank you so much, Colin. Any questions from the board? Thank you for that big smile you put on my face and so many people on this call. It's just warms our heart because this is what we're all about. So thank you so much for that report. And yes, any input on murals, we like a lot of color and something joyful. I think we need something else to smile about every day. So thanks so much for bringing beauty also to the campus. Next we have Mr. Sean Mendoza, representing the adjunct faculty. You have 5 minutes.
Chairwoman Ripley, Chancellor Lambert, members of the board, and honored guests. With the semester in full swing and the possibility of the pandemic soon coming to an end, I want to take this opportunity to reflect on where we were and where we are today. Approximately 4 years ago, adjunct faculty strove for standardized training, benefits, and compensation when serving on college-wide committees. Thanks to the board and college administration, many of those concerns and initiatives have been addressed or implemented. Some highlights include your adoption, the board's adoption of policy 4.09, which extended fee waivers to adjunct faculty, spouses, and dependents. Also, compensation where we participate in college training or serve on college-wide committees like the AARC, essential to the operations and direction of the institution. Knowing that change does not happen overnight, I want to thank you for your continued support as we work towards developing policies and initiatives like those presented today, which included professional development funding and rehiring processes for adjunct faculty. Although we've made progress on a number of past and current initiatives, we're still working on with administration to solve some really important challenges currently facing our adjunct faculty ranks. One that comes to mind is the possibility for adjunct faculty to lose their health care. For example, some adjunct faculty during the fall and spring semesters depend on access for health care. However, during the summer sessions, some of my peers lose this resource because they make too much money to utilize this potentially life-saving benefit available to them from the state. It's my hope we can find a solution that prevents adjunct faculty from choosing between healthcare for themselves or their family, money for rent, or food on the table. With support from Kate Schmidt of the Provost's office and my fellow adjunct faculty member and AARC member, Sarah Jensen, we're working together to solve some of these important challenges. I want to thank you for your support in the past, the present, and future for adjunct faculty. And this ends my report.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for the continued devotion that adjuncts show. It's tough, and thank you for sharing all of your concerns and also all of the successes that you've shown and all the support that you've given us. Thank you so much. We have one more. I have an administrative report.
Chairwoman Ripley, if I may, if I could just
sure.
ask Chancellor Lambert if he could look into the issue for us and then report back to the board on this healthcare issue and whether there's something that we can do, especially in this time of the health crisis.
Right.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, that's what your reference to Kate and others, that's what you're looking at, right?
Yes, we are looking at that. And
but if we could just get a formal update, I think that would
we'd be glad
that
to
would
do
be
that.
Well,
yes,
can I have the floor? Okay.
Yes, please, Board Member Garcia, go ahead.
Okay, Sean, maybe if you could give us some, we don't want personal information, but what leads to them having to go on Access? You know, I mean, we need that kind of data as to why, you know, why I'm surprised that that's happening. I really am. You know,
well, as part-time employees, you know, it comes back down to our amount of pay that we have as part-time employees.
Just a point of order. I'm sorry,
okay.
Ms. Ripley.
Okay,
so I mean,
right.
we can't get into his discussion.
Okay.
So
Right. I'm sorry. Sorry. Just, we need the information.
Yes, thank you so much, Board Member Garcia. We will definitely. This is a serious issue, and we will definitely work on it and get back to you, Sean. Thank you. I have an administrative report, but I don't have anyone's name next to it. Is there an admin report from any of our representatives? If not, we can go on to the next item, which I think I've lost. Let's see. Oh, the Chancellor's report. Or maybe I'm.
Sorry, so there's still staff
there's still
and faculty.
Sorry, I'm missing a page here. Hold on. Let me.
It's okay.
I got so excited listening to Sean. I lost track of.
Chairperson Ripley, do you want me to go? I'm typically the after Sean.
Please.
Faculty. So while you look through the papers.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chairwoman Ripley, Chancellor Lambert, members of the board, colleagues and guests. My name is Denise Riley, and I represent the faculty in the faculty report. I'm a proud member of Student Success faculty. I feel this meeting, I have a lot of hands in, former AARC member, a member of All College Council, and a Phi Theta Kappa advisor as well. So I wanted to mention that in this month's report, we I typically write about some notable faculty accomplishments, and I just thought there was a really unique group this time. We have an adjunct faculty in the health information technology that earned a certificate. We had 7 math faculty present at the Mead conference at U of A, and I think that's just amazing, as well as 12 faculty of several different disciplines at the college participating in creating renewable assignments in the United Nations Faculty Fellowship. So I just want to acknowledge all the great things that faculty are doing among this unprecedented time period that we've been speaking about. And I also wanted to mention that in every report, I include a short briefing on the TLC, which was mentioned quite a bit tonight, the Teaching and Learning Center that was created about 6 months, I believe, prior to the pandemic hitting. And so although that's a new and growing program at the college, I think it's also a great, robust one. And I just want to acknowledge Dr. Elliot Chirilla, who's really leading the charge in that right now. And so with that, I wanted to mention that 3 new certificates were rolled out this year. And with those new certificates, there were accumulation of 200 hours of professional development by faculty in earning these certificates. And I believe that Dr. Duran Cerda had mentioned in her report some of the great types of certificates that are being offered that really improve and promote different types of pedagogy among the faculty. I also wanted to share that in December or in the fall, we surveyed as faculty senate officers, or we polled the faculty senators, and that represents every division at the college. And we polled them, asking them to determine our spring 2022 goals. And I wanted to just share these 3 goals with you because that's really where our focus is at right now. The first goal was in the area of D2L and technology, and that's just improvements and wondering how we can improve student success and retention rates in that arena. The second one is related to faculty leadership, and I'm going to talk more about that one tonight. So faculty leadership and wanting to have a real voice in the collaboration with administrators, with different departments across the college in terms of where we're going as a college. And then the third one is related to policies and procedures, and just once again having a voice in new and upcoming policies and procedures, which was talked about by the AARC tonight. So I wanted to share some highlights or what's going on this spring semester and where we're headed. So our focus as faculty senate officers is really being action oriented. So in not just collaborating with administration and collaborating with other departments, but really seeing action take place. And so not just having committees and discussions, but really seeing action. So to that end, we've decided to have once a month study sessions. Our first one was related to professional development with the TLC. And we heard faculty voices about how and when to offer professional development. What are some incentives that faculty need in order to have the time to really professionally develop? And so that was a great session. And our next session is related to Pima Online. So we really want to partner with Pima Online to make sure that our goals as faculty members are aligning with their goals as Pima Online. And so these study sessions have really proven to be successful so far. And to that point, as this action-oriented group of officers, I wanted to mention that our Faculty Senate President reports and our President Rita Lennon has really put a focus in each of the reports on accomplishments of all our standing committees. And that's one thing we're going to continue to really look for and to request from administration, is just the idea that we have a lot of leadership at the college. We have committee reports, we have task forces, we have work groups, we have all these different groups, but where is the housing? Where's the place where we can find out who's working on each of these reports and what are the outcomes of these groups? And so that's something we're going to be requesting and looking at. What are all these things that we're doing right now, and how can we really see the end of that? And with that, I just wanted to mention that those are our goals this semester, and we have a lot of highlights and a lot of great things going on with faculty, and we just look forward to our continued collaboration and leadership, and really focusing on the 3 goals that we mentioned with D2L and technology, with faculty leadership, and with any kind of input on policies and procedures moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Denise, for that. Faculty are on the front line, so thanks for all you do. And next, we do have a staff report from, I believe, Dorothy Netherland. Dorothy?
Good evening, Chairperson Ripley, board members, Chancellor Lambert, staff, faculty, and guests. First of all, I'd like to extend my congratulations to Mr. Klinko and to our 3 students on amazing achievements. At our January meeting for Staff Council, we did receive reports of the IT update that was done during our break. And I would like to congratulate our IT department for not only successfully implementing it, but achieving this 2 days ahead of time. We also discussed the supervision in the 21st century, which is a wonderful tool that is offered at the college. Having taken that course myself, I can say that it has been life-changing for work stuff. It was amazing. And our biggest concerns that we are hearing from staff is still class compensation and the COVID-19. We were informed that we are looking into getting KN95 masks, I'm sorry. But since this has already taken place and we know that we now have them, that's a little outdated. But again, this is from our January 7th meeting. But this is pretty much all that I have to report. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for that. And have I left anyone out? I think we can move on now. Thank you so much for those really wonderful comments. We appreciate it. We will move on now to the Chancellor's report. We've got 15 minutes, Chancellor Lambert.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to February. And this is our first full month of being back for the spring term. And I'm just so pleased that we continue to demonstrate our commitment to our students and our community. And I just want to say thank you to the faculty, staff, and administration and board for our resiliency that each and every one of you have shown over the months and months and months. And hopefully we do see an end in sight. But regardless, you all are the model of how we lead a college to continue to deliver on our mission. So I want to thank you all for that. I thought I'd just touch on just a few items. We had the governor, for the first time since I've been in the state, met with all 10 of the community college districts. So we had a very robust conversation with the governor. A lot of it focused on workforce and the need to help our respective communities throughout the state to reskill and upskill. And so I'm just so excited that all of our community colleges have a singular focus to help Arizonans continue to thrive and prosper as we go forward. Also, David Dore, Ian Work, and myself, we had an opportunity to travel to our Workforce Development Institute. A lot of things happening on the national level, some of which Pima will be involved in. So let me just talk big picture for a moment. And that is augmented reality, virtual reality, extended reality is going to continue to be more and more a big part of what's going to happen in education. More colleges are embracing this technology. And I know Pima, we have been doing some of these pieces. And I look forward to us continuing to build off of those pieces and doing more to integrate it through every aspect of our teaching and learning efforts. Also, I had a chance to have dinner with one of the lead people from the Metallica Scholars Program. So we're just so excited that Pima was chosen to participate and be able to offer Metallica Scholars Scholarship Awards to students. And we're looking forward to continuing to be part of that network. Also, as part of our time there, we learned about a new program in artificial intelligence that's being formed. So it's the AI Incubator Network. Dell and Intel are a big part of driving this network with AACC. We are submitting our application to bring Pima into that network and to really drive a greater level of integration of artificial intelligence into what we do as a college. But workforce development is going to continue to grow in significance and importance as we move into the future, as evidenced by 2 big grant programs that have been announced towards the end of last year that Pima Community College is actively engaged with. First of which is the Build Back Better program, This is the $1 billion program being administered through U.S. Economic Development Administration, in which the city was awarded, I believe it was a $500,000 planning grant. So Pima is front and center and working with the city on the planning grant. And if we're successful, we're hoping that we will land a sizable multi-million dollar piece to really focus on boosting economic recovery in our community and to address decades of disinvestment into public services in our respective communities. So out of the hundreds of cities and entities who applied across the country, they whittled that down to, I believe, 50. City of Tucson being one of those. They're going to whittle that down to about half of that group. So I'm hoping that we will stand the tests and be a recipient. Another big grant program that's being launched is called the Good Jobs Grant Program. And this is really centered on skills development systems and programs. And so Pima is actively involved in the county's efforts, the city's efforts, and the state efforts. And we've been asked to participate on a multi-state effort as well. And there's going to be about $500 million dedicated to the good jobs piece. So just know that we are actively engaged. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have really rebuilt our brand on a national level, as well as on a statewide level and a local level, that we are being asked to be part of these significant investments into the revitalizations of our respective communities. And let me just close by just making a comment around tutoring. I didn't say this in the beginning because I didn't want to take up a lot of time, but, and Ed knows this, and all the tutors who I visited with, I was a recipient of a strong tutoring services when I was a student. But for that support, I wouldn't be here today. And I'll just share briefly, my faculty member I met with, he said to me, this is why I'm so big into faculty advising. He sat me down and he said, here's your strengths and here's your weaknesses. What do you want to hear first? And I said, tell me my weaknesses. And I said to him, and what he said to me was, you can't write. And what he meant was I couldn't write at the college level. So I spent the next few years of my undergraduate time focused on writing, working with the Learning Center. And I certainly got to a place where I was writing at the level that I could go on to law school. That would not have happened without great tutors and great support from learning resource centers across our great colleges and universities. So I just want to thank you, Ed, and the team, because it is a team. It's not just about what goes on in the classroom. It's all the other pieces that support what goes on in the classroom. And I think it's so important for us never to lose sight of that. So thank you all for what you do, and thank you, board, for all your support.
Thank you so much, Chancellor, for that and for those words of encouragement. And we look forward to another challenging year, but with this team, I'm pretty confident we're going to not only survive another year, but thrive. Next on the agenda is our information items. So we have information items, they're posted online. And so what I'd like to do right now is to ask for a motion to approve these items.
Chair Ripley, if I might, so there's no action item taken on these. There's simply information provided for the benefit of the board and to inform discussion or spark ideas for future agenda items, but there's no action necessary.
Okay, great. Thank you. So no action, but we do have information items posted online. So please review those if you have any questions. Next will be the consent agenda. And these are also posted online with all the backup information, all the backup material. So I would like to ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Any discussion before we move on?
I'm sorry. I'm kind of lost because I think in the past we would have like the items listed and I don't see them. So can you tell me what those items are?
So they are listed on the agenda. I'm happy to just quickly, would it help if I just quickly, I'm happy to just read the titles really fast if that's good for you?
That's good enough.
Okay, so the first item are the minutes from the January 12th executive session. Then it's the minutes from the January 12th, 2022 regular meeting. There's an intergovernmental agreement for an exchange of educational services with the Rio Rico Fire District.
Okay.
There's an intergovernmental agreement between Pima Community College and the Arizona Department of Economic Security to provide for childcare, funding for childcare support. There is an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Tucson to be a subrecipient for the U.S. Economic Development Administration Build Back Better grant. That's the one that the chancellor was just mentioning in his remarks. And then the last one is to grant the chancellor authority to execute an easement. This has to do with giving an easement to Tucson Electric Power Company to provide utility services for the new advanced manufacturing building that's under construction at the downtown campus.
Okay, Jeff, can you please tell me on what's the numbering on the items?
Sure. So
just one, just the first one, so I know where I'm at.
So sure. So it's 4.1 is the minutes, the first set of minutes, and then each one is 4 point whatever the next number is.
I'm fine.
Does that help clarify?
It's good.
Okay.
Thank you so much for clarifying. It is part of the board packet that was sent out, but it is huge. It's a big packet. So there's a lot of information in there.
Well, the problem is that I don't know how to use to see the board documents, put them on, and then also see the meeting. So, okay, thank you.
I was going to say after the meeting, like sometime in the next few days, Ms. Garcia, if you want to call Andrea and we can schedule a time and figure out how to get a solution for you.
Okay.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Next, we have action items.
So point of order, we actually have an open motion to adopt the consent agenda. Madam
We did.
I don't
No, you
think
need
we
to vote.
voted.
No,
Nobody voted.
You have to call for the vote.
Thank you. I
Yep.
knew that. So we moved and it was seconded. Now we need to vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, thank you. Consent agenda has been approved. Thank you. Now we will move to our item number 8, the action items. Mr. Sylvan, could you please read the recommendations?
Thank you, Chair Ripley. The Chancellor recommends the Governing Board authorize the Chancellor or designee to approve Amendment Number 3 for $126,899 and execute Amendment Number 4 for $61,795.33 to the contract with M3 Engineering and Technology Corporation for architectural services for the Aviation Technology Center expansion project. The total cost for these amendments is $188,694.33, which would bring the total value of the amended contract for M3 to slightly over $1.4 million. The exact number is there in the recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt the recommendation?
So moved.
Any seconds?
I have questions on it.
Second.
Okay, then we can move to, there will be a motion. Can we open up for discussion at this point?
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to just provide just a brief background around this. And then I have Dr. Dave B., who will be glad to answer any technical questions that might arise from this action item. So this has two components to it. One is really to correct a technical defect. There was a misunderstanding related to the not to exceed piece that the board had given us authority for. So on the First Amendment that was made reference to in here, that was improperly executed. If I understand this correctly, Jeff, consistent with that not to exceed. This will help correct that. And then the second piece is truly another item that would again exceed the NTE that the board gave us authority to do. But when you bring all of these together, the actual excess of the contract total is just a little bit over the overall contracted amount that was set aside for the total work of the contract. So hopefully that makes sense. So the architect's work, we set aside about 10% of the overall contract for the architect. This final amendment that was mentioned earlier takes us a little bit over that. So we need your authority to exceed that. Yes.
Okay. But what I would like to see is what have we paid for? What's the increase? And where are we going to get the funds from? Before I vote on anything like that. Now, if I have to have a separate meeting with Dave B, I will do that.
So Dave, you want to answer?
So let me give a little bit of context. Good evening, Chairperson Ripley, members of the board, Chancellor Lambert, colleagues, guests. So as Lee outlined some of the specifics related to this, but I want to get started. I'll give it even a little broader background that in the course of major construction projects, there are things that pop up during the construction, during the project that are unforeseen. Those then trigger often change orders. And in this particular case, what the anomaly is with this board report is that there were a couple of change orders. There's actually 4 change orders, 2 of which have already gone back to have gone to the board, 2 of which are the ones we're talking about tonight. Particularly with the change order 3 and change order 4, it outlines in the board report what specifically the change orders are for. So just in quick summary, the change order 3 had some unexpected on-site conditions and changes that are due to utility requirements. There were some water changes that came up during the course of the project that we had to make some changes, and there were some design changes that the architect firm needed to do. And then the change order 4 are more like miscellaneous adjustments that as the scope of the project comes together and people are seeing how it's coming together, there were additional changes and they're outlined in the board report, what were identified. Now, as Chancellor Lambert mentioned, initially what happened was the project estimated that the architect fees would be 10% of the construction project. So that would be, and it was set at this not to exceed $1.4 million. When the second change order went through, there was a new not to exceed number that was set a little bit lower. And so what we have to do is we have to remedy that and get back to where we were in the first place, which is essentially get back to the 1.4. It's actually a little bit higher, as Lee mentioned. It's 1.431 million now for the total expected architect fees that we expect not to exceed that now that we've had these. And then partly this is to remedy an administrative oversight, right? We had an expected, staff had expected and set this 1.4 million NTE. It hadn't been exceeded until this last one. However, as I mentioned, there was inadvertently, we reset the NTE a little bit lower earlier on. So we've got to remedy those issues. And again, this is to be utterly transparent with the board. There were some administrative process errors that we're going to be working on between finance and facilities to make sure that we catch these and deal with these ahead of time and take them back to the board before.
I was going to say, if I might just to also just kind of provide that little bit of that context, the figure that the chancellor was talking about, so the original budget estimate for professional design services was $1.4 million. With the changes and the amendment we're talking about, that would raise that amount by $31,000, just slightly over. So in other words, the original estimate was 1.4. It turns out that after changes and some unexpected things, it was only off by about $31,000 and change. So that's what we're asking, is to reset it so that it's, if the board approves it, what it's going to do is move it from the original estimate of 1.4 million to authorize up to the 1.4 million and the additional $31,000. So that will be the total financial consequence of the request.
All right, thank you.
And Board Member Garcia, in the scope of the total project cost, the additional amount we're talking about here can be covered within the total scope of the project. We are running into project overruns or cost overruns in many of our projects. we have contingencies built in, but that's again, when we get into the budget and the capital budget in particular, we're going to talk to the board, and I've talked to finance audit a little bit about this, about cost escalation and how we're going to handle that within some of these projects. But in this particular case, this change that the board is looking at tonight is not significant enough to impact the total cost.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a question from Dr. Hay.
Well, thank you, Chairman Ripley. I think Dr. B answered my question. My question was to make sure we have corrective action to try to do more accurate predictions and estimates of costs and overruns and contingencies, but it sounds like you're working on that, so I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. With no other questions, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nay? Okay, I think I heard everyone. Okay, with that, the motion passes. We have one more action item, 5.2, and Mr. Sylvan, would you like to present that? Or no?
Thank you, Chair Ripley. So as you might recall, at the last board meeting, the board approved the creation of the Enrollment and External Outreach Advisory Committee. So the recommendation for the board tonight is to select 2 members of the governing board to serve on that committee so that we can get it up and running.
Chair Ripley?
Yes, Board Member Klinko.
Yeah, so I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we nominate and appoint Pat Ripley and Maria Garcia to the subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, can we take a vote? All those in favor, or excuse me.
Do you want to ask if there's any other nominations?
I'm sorry, are there any other nominations?
Luis? No, that's okay. I'll
Okay.
nominate Luis.
So just a point of clarification. So because it is a subcommittee of the board, we can only have 2 members without having a quorum. So it's like all of the other subcommittees that we have. So just reminding everyone of that.
Okay, so we can vote on 2 people for this board. Is that correct?
So you can elect 2 to the board. I mean, you could have
Committee.
more than 2. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. You're right. There can be 2 board members elected to serve on this advisory committee. It's certainly possible that more than 2 board members wish to serve. If there are more than 2 who wish to serve, then we'll have to figure out how we're going to cast the vote so that we can get to the 2. So I guess the question we could clarify is there another nomination? So right now, as I understand the motion, Catherine Ripley and Maria Garcia have been both nominated. Is there another nomination at this point? I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
You're muted.
I nominate Luis. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so with 3 nominations, Mr. Sylvan, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll have to do a separate vote for each nominee.
Okay, so why don't I do this? I'll amend my nomination to begin with, I'll separate the nomination into 2, starting with Chair Ripley, followed by Ms. Garcia. And then there's the other nomination.
So at this point, do we vote one by one? Is that correct, Mr. Sylvan?
I think I have to accept the friendly amendment, so I accept the amendment.
Can I also, sorry, back up to just make sure we covered one procedural item. So I know Ms. Garcia nominated Mr. Gonzalez. Was there a second?
Second.
Okay, we do have a second. Okay, yep. We just want to make sure we have a clear record.
Okay, at this time, then we will vote 3 times. The first vote, all those in favor of Ms. Ripley to serve on this committee, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. I guess we don't need a nay, right? So that's three votes for Ms. Ripley. Next, we will vote for all those in favor of Ms. Garcia serving on this committee. please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that was, I believe, 4 votes. Okay, next, we are voting on Mr. Gonzalez to serve on this committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I hear 2. So with that, Mr. Sylvan, can you help me out here?
So based on that, I'd say, so you had majority votes in favor of 2 of the candidates, right? Ms. Ripley and Ms. Garcia, and those would be the 2 board members selected for service on the committee.
Okay.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for that. And I look forward to serving with board member Garcia on this really important brand new committee. It's a really big piece of community outreach, which feeds into enrollment. And in my opinion, enrollment is our number 1 concern right now. And we're going to really focus on that. And to that, and are there, I guess there's no other discussion to be had.
So the next item would be to see if any board members would like to suggest an agenda item for an upcoming meeting. And then that would be their last item of business.
Yes, Ms. Garcia.
Okay, I would like an agenda item on the HLC visit. I'd like, I don't know if you guys want to do a study session or if it's at a board meeting. But I would like all the information as to where we're at on that. Like, have they responded as to what the items are they're going to be looking at? Or, I'd like to have all the communication out there.
I agree that, but I thought, please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sylvan. We are having a meeting. The purpose of the AGB visit is to assist us with that, to really go through step by step what's going to happen and to basically clarify what this is all about. That was under my understanding was that's what AGB was supposed to be doing.
So AGB is going to be helping us prepare for the meeting, but to Ms. Garcia's question, we're happy to share communications from HLC, and we can certainly talk about that at a future board meeting. And before then, I mean, we just received some requests for information from HLC, and I'm happy to share that with the board.
I have another question. I guess I'm still a little confused. I know in the last board meeting, we discussed the fact that the AGB was coming here for board development. And then according to what Mrs. Hayes said, and now we're, but on the original agenda, it said that the AGB was coming down to prepare us for the HLC visit. So Jeff, I asked you for a scope of work, and you said it wasn't prepared yet. So I'm still confused. I mean, what is the real purpose for this? I mean, is it both? And when is it going to happen? And how are we going to do it?
So maybe the confusion is, so first of all, I guess I don't want to go too far down this road because it's really not an agenda item. So maybe some of the confusion is AGB is a large national association that provides professional development opportunities both for board members and for staff that support them. They also offer a suite of consulting services, which in this case, we asked for that to include helping us prepare for the HLC visit. So there is an element of both. So sorry if that was maybe confusing at all. So it is an element of both. The agreement with AGB, the scope has been finalized. The final terms are being approved, going through our approval process. So I'm happy to, I now have that. I'm happy to share that with you if that might also help both resolve the question and then also help inform the conversation at the next board meeting.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you so much for that question, and also thank you for the clarification, Mr. Sylvan. With that, any other requests for future agenda items?
Great first meeting, Chairman Ripley.
Good.
Thank you so much, everybody, for suffering through this first meeting on this 2/2/22 Groundhog Day. I think the groundhog did see his shadow, and there will be more winter, which doesn't mean a whole lot for Arizona. I think most of us are yay. We don't need summer yet. So thank you so much for that. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Thanks for everybody who works so hard and tirelessly, and for all of the people on this call, this Zoom. I appreciate your support. Again, it's challenging. We have to be resilient. We have to be flexible, and we have to be kind and understanding, because we're all, seriously, an overused phrase, we're all in this together, seriously. And so with that said, the next regular meeting of the governing board will be held on March 9th, 2022. Executive session will be held at 4 p.m. and open session at 5:30. Both will be held virtually until further notice. And with that, the meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.